And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Emergence Event, which is a really cool looking box, and it's actually a really good name too. This is a space exploration style game made by the same folks who brought us Myth. So, is there lots of plastic in a box? Well, not actually. There's just a few plastic miniatures really, and there's a pile of tokens and charts and things like this. This is really where you're going to go out and explore and find planets and do different things using a deck of cards that you're going to be playing as the game goes by. Let's take a look. You're going to build a star field, and that's basically going to be, this is a two-player one. It's based on a number of players. Each player has their home area where they'll start their ship in, and you get a plastic ship, and there's a few things to explore in your home area, and so you'll have different ones of those. And then the rest of the tiles are placed, except for this one tile that's placed in the middle, kind of the center of the solar system. You also have a board over here. This keeps track. Players will have different things on preparation tracks. These can give you free techs. Maybe having some of these at the end of the game will get you points, because there's going to be different cards that are available in each game. These cards will show you, for example, this card here shows you that at the end of the game, whoever has the most planets controlled is going to get 3 points. And then the second most, if there's a tie for that, then 1 point each. Here, if you're the highest on the unification of worlds, you get 3 points. If you have the most different types of goods in your cargo hold, if you have the most successes in open space. So these are certain ways to get points, and these tracks can have something to do with that. More importantly, you have the movement track here and the game round track. Now the way this works is, every time you move a space, you're going to move on this movement track, and when it reaches the top, then boom, it's reset, and this moves one. And you have 3 different epochs in which different events are available, and at the end of them, the game is over. So this movement is going to go boom, 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 keep going back. And then finally over here is the reward table. Now the reward table you're going to be rolling for after several of the missions, and whatever number you roll is what you'll get. So, for example, if I roll a 1, I just get a random resource. And there's actually a die that you can roll to get the different random resources. But if I roll a 6, I'll get 2 random resources and a reward tile artifact shard and a refined trianium, which is this stuff here, which is used to do jumps around the board. Well, you say, how can you get 7 through 10? That's because you can get technologies and things that will let you add to your roll. And each discovery you get lets you add to your roll. So when you get to 10, 3 resources, an artifact, and refined trinium is a pretty good roll. Each player has their own captain board, and here they have their cargo hold in which they're going to put the different resources that they gather. Down here is where you keep your refined trinium. Here's where you have artifacts. As the game goes by, you get really cool artifacts that will give you bonuses that you can use. And also in your cargo hold, you can have a tack tiles that you'll find. These are tiles, and you'll be able to use those at the beginning of your turn to attack other players. It also shows you what your basic stats are when trying to accomplish a mission. You have special abilities, your hand size. Over here are all the different technologies that you can get over the course of the game. At the end of each turn, you can get technologies. A turn for a player is very simple. They're going to be using a special deck of cards that each player has. And these decks of cards have names, and they have stats, and they have movement on them. So at the beginning of your turn, you can play as many cards from your hand as you want, and that's how much movement you can get. Or you can spend a certain number of movement and a certain number of trianium to basically do a blind jump. If you are, for example, if there's let's say I want to jump all the way over to here, I can do so, but it's a random die roll using the center thing to get over there. And it has to be explored. Other than that, you move, you're going to explore and find new regions, and different things are going to pop up in those regions. and events and things. And then depending on where you end your turn, you're going to have some sort of encounter. If your turn ends in open space, you will simply draw an open space card. So maybe you run across a sphere riddle, or a hidden cache, or the collectors, or a rogue satellite, or a friend in need. And you'll have something that you have to do down here. Or maybe you will go and try to accomplish one of the actual goals. There's like a whole long storyline here. It tells you what act the story's in. And again, down here at the bottom is what you need. So this one needs 7 of this type of navigation, or it needs 7 engineering to finish. While maybe a harder one here needs 8, or like the biggest ones here needs 9 navigation or 9 engineering, and it also needs 6 science. So they have different things, and if you accomplish these, you'll get different rewards. There's also some generic things on the board. Basically, there are planets, and there are asteroid fields and space stations. Each of those has different tests that you can decide to do. The different tests that you'll need to get, the rewards you'll get, the points you'll get if you do them. If you own them, after you basically take it over, you then have an action you can take. You can repair in one, because if you fail many of the actions, you're going to be getting damage cards added to your deck. When you draw damage cards, you can see they give you half a movement point, and other than that, they're kind of worthless. So you don't want to get too many of those. So you're going to be trying these goals. Now, to accomplish a mission, again, you'll use cards in your hand that you didn't use for movement, and you'll use your stats that you have on your sheet. So let's say, for example, I'm this guy here, and I need to get 7 navigation. Well, he starts with 4 navigation, and then maybe I play this this card is worth 3 navigation, and then I play another one that's worth 1 navigation. That's 7 navigation. Sometimes you need to beat a test by a certain number and go over it. Sometimes you just need to get to the certain number. And some of these cards also have other things that they can do, like one can cancel an open space event that you've just drawn, and so on. At the end of your turn, you'll draw back up and keep going. There's also Captain Power cards. Each player has one of these in their deck as it goes by, and you will eventually maybe get more of them. When you play one of these at the beginning of your turn, it will do something good to you and something bad to everybody else. So, like, for example, this one here gives you 4 diplomacy during encounters, but everyone else must discard a diplomacy card. If they can't, they take a damage card. So you play one of those at the beginning of your turn, and then you do your action, your movement, and then your action, and this keeps going, and then possibly upgrading. This is what you need resources for, to upgrade to better technologies that might give you more points or special abilities, or being able to move farther, or upping your stats, things like that. Most points at the end of the game is the winner. On the plus side, let's start out with the first thing I know anyone who's played Myth is going to want to know. Does the rule book work? Well, yes, it does. It's almost as if they painstakingly wanted to say, do you understand the game? Now, it's still not clear in a few spots. I had to reread the section on how to play cards and do a mission multiple times. I mean, and the whole movement thing was a little wonky to understand, and we'll get to that in a second. But it was much clearer, and I was able to figure out how to play the game from it. Very nicely laid out, too. Great graphic design. The movement, this is kind of a negative thing for me, and I just felt like that was a very fiddly, annoying. I don't really like a game mechanism where you constantly have to move something every turn. And that's what you're doing here. Move the movement, move the movement, move the movement, boom. Then the turn marker moves. Why not just make a set number of turns? Why? I don't know. I just felt like that was such a fiddly thing to deal with. I did not like that at all. And in fact, movement was really a pain, because it was like, here we go, and at the beginning you're moving just a little bit. Okay, we're finally getting somewhere. Okay, now, I mean, by the end of the game you can move faster, but at the beginning it just feels like such a slog. There's a lot of cool things I like in this game. I like that the different captains are asymmetrical. I like the different things that you can go out and explore, but the game has 2 big problems. The first is there's hardly any interaction between players. You're just going out and doing your own thing. And that's fun and interesting, but that means on everyone else's turns, I'm bored. Except the game does include interaction, but it's interaction that's just plain out nasty. Boom! I mean, those captain cards, and it's very possible to draw one on the first turn because the decks are small. It just does something negative to the other players. No countering it. Whatever, just negative. It's just hitting the other players for no reason at all. You can't even, it's not even like it's a choice. It's not like, ooh, well, you want to do this really great thing for you or hurt everybody else. No, it's like, you get to do this great thing for you and hurt everybody else. Woo! And that's just very problematic. I found that to everybody disliked that. I mean, well, maybe not when the guy did it to everyone else, but then when it happened to them, they're like, oh, yeah, I can see how that's kind of really frustrating. Then you can spiral out of control in the game. Those damage cards that get into your deck, you might go in open space, get more damage cards, and you can't move very far. So you say, okay, I'm not going to move, so I don't take it, because when you don't move, you don't get an encounter, but then you don't do anything. So just problematic. I felt like the game can slog down and one person can get out to a very clear leading position, just basically sometimes getting the right cards in their hand at the right time. Hand size I thought was too small. I really felt like there was a lot. I felt like this was a really cool concept for a game, but your hand was small, you had no player interaction except just to beat on each other every once in a while for no reason at all. It was beautiful, but it's confusing because you're looking at this chart over here to this chart. Turns took a while, the game slowed down. So there's way more problems here than there is good things, unfortunately. Even worse, there was another game released last year, Zaya, which does a very similar thing, but does it at a somewhat not too much faster clip, but has way cooler interaction and just seems to flow better. Here, this game gives you the illusion of, ooh, you can go anywhere and do anything you want, but you really can't because you can barely move at the beginning, so you really got to go to one of the two closest things to you, a planet or an asteroid or whatever, and then do that, and you're kind of at the mercy of your cards and such. So I really wanted to like this game. I love space games. I love sandbox games that let you do anything. But this is like a sandbox where you're kind of in a corner and they're like, you can come over here in a few minutes, but every once in a while I'm going to walk up and kick sand in your face. That's the way this game felt, and unfortunately, I have to give it a pass. Dice Tower Judgment, unfortunately, too many problems.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.